Sigmund Freud, a name that still echoes through psychology, culture, and everyday conversation. He's credited as the father of psychoanalysis, but Freud was much more than a man with a couch and a cigar. He was controversial, brilliant, misunderstood, and surprisingly eccentric. In this video, we're exploring the fascinating, strange, and often humorous world of Sigmund Freud through a collection of fun facts and lesser-known truths. Let's dive into the mind of the man who changed how we understand the mind itself. The man behind the couch, Sigmund Freud, was born in 1856 in what is now the Czech Republic. He was fluent in German, Latin, Greek, French, English, Hebrew, Spanish, and Italian, an astonishing 8 languages. Freud's first love wasn't psychology, it was neurology. He spent years dissecting eels to understand their reproductive systems. His early research was strictly biological before he ever started asking questions about dreams, the unconscious, or childhood trauma. The birth of psychoanalysis. Freud developed psychoanalysis as a way to treat mental disorders by exploring unconscious desires and childhood experiences. He believed that repressed thoughts could surface through dreams, slips of the tongue, now called Freudian slips, and free association. What made Freud revolutionary wasn't just what he said, it was that he said it out loud. He broke Victorian taboos about sex, family, and repression, cocaine, and Freud. Here's a shocking fact. Freud was an early and enthusiastic user of cocaine. In the 1880s, cocaine was still legal and used in medical treatments. Freud praised its ability to relieve depression and even wrote several papers on its supposed benefits. He later backed away from his cocaine advocacy after realizing its dangers and addictive qualities. Freud and his famous couch. The iconic psychoanalyst's couch wasn't his idea. It was a gift from a grateful patient, Madame Benvenisti. Freud never sat across from his patients. He sat behind them, out of sight, to encourage uncensored speech. He believed this would help patients speak more freely without being influenced by his reactions. The couch became a global symbol of therapy and is now preserved in the Freud Museum in London. Obsession with Dreams. Freud's most famous book, The Interpretation of Dreams, was published in 1899, but Freud insisted it be post-dated to 1900. Why? He believed it was a work that would usher in the new century of understanding the mind. He saw dreams as a royal road to the unconscious, filled with hidden meanings and symbolic desires. But not everyone agreed. His book barely sold in its first year. Today, it's one of the most influential psychology texts ever written. He analyzed himself. Freud didn't just invent psychoanalysis, he tested it on himself. He spent years journaling his dreams, fears, and childhood memories, using self-analysis to develop his theories. He even admitted to having complex emotions about his own parents, particularly his mother. This self-reflective method gave Freud insight into topics like the Oedipus complex, repression, and early trauma. Freud's famous patients and followers. Freud mentored many minds that would shape psychology, including Carl Jung, who eventually broke away and founded analytical psychology, Alfred Adler, who disagreed with Freud's focus on sexuality, Anna Freud, his own daughter, who became a pioneer in child psychology. Many of his students rebelled against him, but his influence was undeniable. Freud and religion. Freud was famously skeptical of religion. He considered religious belief a kind of collective neurosis, an illusion rooted in childhood fears and wish fulfillment. In his book, The Future of an Illusion, he argued that religion was a crutch used to cope with a chaotic world. Naturally, these views sparked outrage. Exile and final years. Freud was forced to flee Nazi-occupied Austria in 1938. He was Jewish, and his books had already been burned by the Nazis. He escaped to London with the help of Princess Marie Bonaparte and spent his final years there. He suffered from jaw cancer and endured more than 30 painful surgeries. Still, he continued writing and thinking until his death in 1939. Freud's cultural impact. Whether or not you agree with Freud's theories, his cultural impact is massive. We still use terms he coined or popularized, such as ego e libido, Freudian slip defense mechanism. Repression. Freud even influenced art, literature, film, and advertising. From Hitchcock to Woody Allen, countless creators have borrowed from Freud's ideas about the unconscious. Fun and bizarre Freud facts. Let's end with a rapid-fire round of quirky Freud facts. He was deeply afraid of numbers ending in 6. He kept a collection of antique figurines on his desk for inspiration. He never saw a patient for more than 50 minutes, the origin of the therapy hour. He had 20 cigars a day habit, believing they helped him focus. Freud's ashes are stored in a Greek urn gifted by Princess Bonaparte. He once fainted in public upon seeing his protege Carl Jung, possibly symbolic of their tense split. The Freud Museum in London is set up exactly as he left it, down to the couch, books, and desk. Final thoughts. Sigmund Freud was a man of contradictions. He was a scientist and a philosopher, a skeptic and a dreamer, a rebel and a traditionalist. Whether revered or rejected, Freud remains one of the most influential thinkers in modern history. Understanding his quirks and insights helps us better understand our own. Which historical figure would you like to explore next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below.